thank you for being heroes. I mean, crossing lines, like this is...
I appreciate you saying that, but there's also, I would say, you know, we're also inspired by other people doing it in the space, and there's work being done by so many in this area.
Yeah.
And so I'm constantly inspired by the other folks that are doing it. And that's what continues to make me want to keep doing this as well, so.
This is John Shep with iRun Magazine, the Athletics Ontario running podcast, and I have my friends here from Crossing Lines. We've got James, Matt, and Court. Welcome back to the AO Running Podcast, and welcome to iRun.
Yeah, right on. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Okay, so we have met before on the Athletics Ontario Running Podcast, talked a little bit about your journey with Crossing Lines, but for the sake of this, why don't you jump us in? How did all of this get started?
You want to go?
Go for it.
Crossing Lines as a collective, we are trying to increase the representation of people of color at the start lines of trail races, ultra races. It started, God, how many years ago now?
3 years.
3 years ago, after we were running some trail races and noticed the lack of diversity and inclusion at some races, and really wanted to kind of show up at races with our people and kind of the vibe that we were used to from like the road running scene. So we wanted to make a change, not just by like us showing up, but hopefully helping others too. So our goal was to remove barriers for people to get to the start line. So it started off with us being able to provide plans, like training plans and nutrition plans, and we'd help with planning for races, transportation, and all those things. We have done a few races. We've done 2 years of ultra in the States called Run Woodstock. We've done some stuff up here with Sulphur Springs. Been to a few different ultra races, and yeah, just trying to increase the diversity at start lines.
Okay, and then the dumb question here, what are some of those barriers?
Yeah, so I mean, when we started the initiative, that's kind of like what we started doing, was like trying to identify the barriers, because we were, you know, obviously there's the ones that you can think of right off the bat. Financial barriers, there's the, you know, the knowledge barrier, access to trails, that's a barrier, right? So what we did was sort of canvas people within our community, people that we knew through road running, who had, you know, gone and done marathons, multiple marathons, but had never taken the leap into trails, and sort of asking them like, what is it? What is about trails? What is about ultras? Why aren't you making that progression, making that step into this other area? And so through those conversations, we started to identify the different barriers, and then we sort of thought about, okay, now what can we do as a collective to sort of break down those barriers and offer that access to people, right? One thing I always say when we talk about this and we talk about the barriers is, you know, we can try and eliminate all the barriers that possible. The only one barrier that we can't get rid of for people is time, because these things take time. It takes time to train. It takes time to prepare for these. But any other barrier, we like to try to identify that and try to get that out the way for people. So.
Well, and what I love what y'all have done is you're working with race directors. Like, yes, you've got the athletes that, as you said, you're providing transportation and training plans and nutrition plans and trying to get the logistical side of things, but you're also doing the infrastructure work, whether it's presenting at the Athletics Ontario Running, the Athletics Ontario Race Director Summit, whether it is presenting out in BC, same thing at their race director conference, whether it's being at Sulphur Springs and manning an aid station.
Yeah.
Like, are there things that you've been doing on that, I mean, clearly that's intentional, but when did that evolution of it go from we're gonna support the athletes to we're gonna work with the race directors?
Yeah, I think it kind of started with maybe UTMB aid station, and when we did that out in Whistler, I think that was the first one we did kind of as a group, where we were really just there for the most part crewing. We did have a few runners participate as well, but I think what we realized was this is an opportunity to start to meet the race directors and start to see where we could have an impact from the inside out. And you know, as we've seen through the race director conferences, is that there's been a great reception to what we've been trying to do, and they want to learn from the things that we've learned and try to implement. So race directors in general have been really receptive to what we've been doing.
Yeah, it's about having a presence, right? So we can have a presence at a start line, But we can also have a presence by manning an aid station, by talking to race directors so that they can increase the presence of people that look like us or think like us at their start line. So it's really just about us being there in different capacities. We started with a t-shirt, right? We want more people of color at a start line, and wearing the t-shirt was good, but being at the actual start line's better, right? And showing up at the start line, and then we can help people be at the start line and kind of bring our energy and our kind of crossing lines stuff to an aid station, and help that way as well. So I think there's just many avenues to increase the representation, and that was just the aid station is one of them.
Right. And I think that's the interesting thing about trail is that like participating in the community or in races goes beyond just registering for the race, right? You have to be involved you can be involved in so many different levels, right? I think there's more often you're going to run into people who run trail races or ultra races that have volunteered at aid stations, that have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That connection with race directors. It's a very interesting relationship that you really don't get in road running. So and we saw that from the very beginnings. And so we were like, if we're really going to do this, we have to try to build that out in terms of the community as well, right? So it's not just registering for races, it's going beyond that.
Yeah, community.
When I see that at Sulphur Springs for the past couple of years, y'all have personed their aid station, the aid station 1-2, and being there, it's different I mean, you mentioned it, right? It's different being in a trail aid station than it is a road aid station. It's not this sort of, we're gunning through, we're dumping wire, we're chucking the cup somewhere. It's, we're gonna hang out, we're gonna joke a little bit, y'all are gonna check in with us. I mean, how has that been over the past couple of years, being at that aid station and supporting runners, specifically at Sulphur Springs? I mean, we'll talk about the work that they've done.
James is probably putting the most hours at an aid station at Sulphur Springs out of us, like length of time wise. He's probably got some good stories about, you just meet people.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's such a great opportunity. Like you said, when you're in road, somebody runs by at 4-minute pace and splashes the cup all over you and then throws the cup at you when they're done, versus at Sulphur or really any ultra, they're coming in and they've been out there for a long time and they need help and they need encouragement, and so we've had a great opportunity to expose our community to that side of ultra running, which maybe they would not have had otherwise. You get a certain energy out of helping others. You get a certain energy out of seeing somebody persevere lap after lap after lap. And we've seen people who come out and crew at the aid station with us and then turn around and want to run it the next year. So that says everything right there. But you build a bond with the runner when they're coming through lap after lap. You build a bond with the runner when they're 10 hours into a race, 12 hours into a race, 15 hours into a race, and they're hurting and they're really just looking forward to seeing you, and then we get to give something back too, because we've all had the experience of being in that pain cave, and so we tend to know the right things to say, and more importantly, the right things not to say. Like, don't ask, how are you doing? Say, hey man, you're looking good, or hey girl, you're looking great. Keep it up, like that kind of encouragement. So it's been a great experience for us. It's been enough weeks now where I can say looking forward to the next one.
Yeah. In the moment, it's a lot, right? You're there for a long time. You're making a lot of sandwiches, cutting a lot of pickles, and on the walkie-talkie, talking to command and doing things that you don't normally do. And I organize more for that aid station and that weekend than I do in my normal life. My wife takes care of majority of the logistic things, but that weekend you have to be on top of all that stuff. And it's a lot, but it's part of contributing to the community. And that's what comes with being part of the trail community, and we're willing to do that too. Show up and be there.
Yeah. The one thing I'd add is also it's a mutually beneficial reciprocal relationship that we have going on there as well, right? We're getting that experience and exposing people, from our crew into that sort of scene, but we're also giving the vibes and the flavor to the aid station as well, right? So there's an exchange there, certainly, right? Yeah. And so we hear that a lot from Sulphur, from the guys at Sulphur about that, right? How our aid station was sort of bringing that vibe. We got the music going, the attitude of the folks that are there. We're bringing that sort of a different sort of dimension to the aid station. So yeah.
And do you get many people who have worked the aid station and now are, I mean, having gone through the weeks of PTSD and trying to figure that out, but that have, whether it was last year running this year or this year, that are really excited to do it next year? Because I mean, I don't think I would trade working an aid station for running. Like, it's an operation.
Yeah, and I think we've had both ways. We've had people that have run through the aid station and want to be involved and volunteer next year and not run, and we've had people that work the aid station and want to run the next year. So, yeah, I think it's reciprocal. It just kind of goes around that way, for sure. Yeah, we've had people go.
Even with Woodstock, we've had people who came out and did their first trail run with us the first year, and then of course when we went back the second year, a lot of them said, maybe I don't want to run the same loops over and over again, but I'll definitely come out and crew. So people who run it, they do also want to give back, because I think as a runner, you take so much from the race, you take so much from the volunteers and during that experience, that naturally you just want to give back.
Yeah.
What I'm interested in the comparison, and we'll talk a little bit about what the rest of the year looks for y'all, but you've got UTMB Whistler. And so how does that vibe, is it similar, different? How's your relationship been with that race that you've sort of expanded Crossing Lines out to BC?
Yeah, I think as James said, like that was the first one that we did, where we made a conservative effort to go out there and do and be a part of that, and it came out through a relationship, right? We have a relationship with the race director. She's a good friend of ours. She loves the work that we're doing. You know what I mean? She's really about diversity, inclusion in racing. So they made it a point of doing that. So when they reached out to us that first year, it was sort of a no-brainer for us to like make the effort to go out and do that, right? So we put it together. It was a great weekend. We had a couple people run. We had 2 people run, but we had that aid station that we held down for the whole day. 12 hours up at the top of a mountain in Whistler. And so it made sense. This year we're going back. We've cultivated that relationship, you know what I mean, and continue to support that relationship. And even when we went out to the Race Directors Summit last year in BC, that was because of through that connection, right? So it's very important,
Yeah. And they do, UTMB has an initiative, and help me with the name of it, Court, that is about diversity at the start line and getting diversity in their body of runners that are there. They have an initiative that they work with, and it aligns really well with what we're about. So it helps that way, and I have no doubt that Alyssa, the race director, is involved in that aspect of it as well, and like that's something that she really cares about, and has put it kind of first and foremost in the things that they do.
Now I was just at Quebec Mega Trail, and one of the things, I intentionally wore your shirt because I was there, and I'm like, trail running needs this message, but that race in particular, I mean, the barriers to trail running in Ontario, you amplify that with the elevation. I was joking with folks. It's like, oh, can you find elevation in Ontario? It's like, well, you got Martin Hill at Sulphur, and you could do that over and over and over and over. Yeah. But you really don't have that elevation. So I could imagine that those barriers are tenfold. So I was proud to wear that shirt, and had, particularly a photographer that works some of the larger races down in the U.S., I asked her to take the picture that I ended up sending to y'all, and she's like, yeah, I took a picture of you at a different start line, because so at the 80K, she took a picture of me, and I'd asked her to take a picture at the 50K specifically because she's like, we need this too. Yeah. All that being said, y'all are now taking that to the next level with your playbook. And so this is a plan for race directors to say, you don't necessarily need to have us there. We'd love to work with you on this, but here's a template, here's a guide on how to help diversify your start line. Let's talk about that. How was that the natural evolution from athletes to race directors to the playbook?
Yeah. I think we're trying to affect change from the top. We can bring people to the start line. We can talk about it at summits and things like that, but if we can empower race directors to start making those decisions when they're planning their races and organizing their events, then that's even better, right? Like we can start it from there. So yeah, it's been a I was gonna say labor of love, but I'm not sure it's been that. It's been a lot of work, right, and a lot of back and forth, and it's taken a lot of time, and it's heavy work to go through. But it's been great, like to see the final result and send it out to people and hear some feedback from those that have really loved it has been amazing. It really can help increase diversity at races. I think if you follow some of the things in there and do some of those things, I think you will see an increase in diversity at your race, which is cool to be a part of that.
I think like if you rewind the clock a little bit, in our first year we did a build with a bunch of runners, and we knocked down as many barriers as we could for one race. And we said, okay, well, we're not going to change the sport by doing this once a year for one race. And so we were playing around with ideas of how do we kind of take what we're doing and make it available for the masses, whether that's taking our training plan that was put together by Coach Nina, and she's an absolute professional, and making that more readily available for people. There's one barrier, taking that away. But we kept playing around with the idea of like, how do we take this thing, make it repeatable so that we don't have to be there at every race in order to do this. And I think, Matt, you were the one who reached out to, we should give a shout out to Bloom,
Yeah.
The organization.
Just cold emailed Bloom and was like, hey, we have this idea. We know about the trail space, but you are the experts in the DEI space. Do you think we could maybe collaborate? And I think Court and I were talking at the time, and we were afraid at the, how we proceed and how we kind of make that relationship work, but they were amazing. They really loved the idea from the start, and they were about doing the work and figuring it out with us. And
The initiative sort of resonated with them, and so they were quick to get on board with it, and we really needed that their expertise, right? Like we have the running background and have kind of have an understanding of some of the stuff, but they really brought that foundational layer and really sort of like fleshed everything out and sort of made the playbook what it is, right? So yeah, big shout out to Bloom, Avery and Siobhan. They really hooked us up. So yeah.
So, I love it's available free on your website. You've asked for donations, but it's not required. But then also you're saying to race directors, I mean, if you want the context, if you want some support and guidance, we're here too.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have you share all the secrets. We want people to be able to read it. But I guess the question is, what have you found? You mentioned that race directors have really loved it. What are some of the particulars in it that have really resounded with race directors, that have been either their aha moments or the things that they think is going to move the needle the most?
Yeah, I think some of the feedback is the breakdown of like the before race, during race, after race. Like there's a section of the playbook that breaks that down. So what should you be doing in the planning of your race? What should you be doing the day of your race? And then the follow-up to that. I think spelling it out like that and breaking it down like that is great for race directors, right? I think anybody that's planning something, if you can get it simple, right, and really break it down to like manageable things to do, and you don't have to do everything on there, right? If you can do parts of it, it's going to be beneficial.
Yeah, and we realize like that's the other thing is like some of these things that they can implement don't cost them anything. So we understand races have like thin margins. We understand, we've talked to enough race directors to know that, especially with smaller sort of local races that, they're operating on very, very thin margins or no money at all. They're operating at a loss. So, we implemented things in there that would cost them absolutely nothing, right? So what we were hearing from a lot of folks is like, they want to do more to get people of color at their start line. So this was here. These are some tips. These are some of the things that you could implement to actually do that. And some of these things will cost you absolutely nothing. You know what I mean? So there's no reason not to.
Right.
Yeah, one of the things we heard too, or one of the pain points from the race directors conference is, making sure that we get enough volunteers year after year after year to support these races. And so one of the, things that we made visible, I think, at least on stage at the last Race Director Summit is, well, here's an opportunity. You open up your race to a whole new demographic, you open up your volunteers to a whole new demographic. So you only have everything to gain from increasing the diversity, because you're going to help everywhere from start to finish with anything that has anything to do with the race and the community.
Yeah.
Okay, and before, during, after? Maybe pick one, and I'll before, during, and after. Let's go. Like, what is maybe one that you're proudest of, one that you think may surprise people, one that you think might be like that needle mover. So to give a preview, if you've got a before, a during, and after, it could be one for each, or it could be just one overall that you think would be that, like, has either hit with race directors or that you hope does.
Ooh, the best one, or like the most specific one.
Or the
You know,
one
the
that
most,
speaks
like
to
the
you
most obvious one that I know that came up like at the very, very beginning of this is representation on your website, representation in your advertising materials, and I specifically remember, like, I don't know if it was you, Matt, who said it, but like if I go to your website and there's zero diversity, it doesn't look like a very welcoming place, right? And that could be a very simple oversight. Like, you can just be kind of going through past photos and you just pick one, and it doesn't look diverse at all, but it also doesn't look very welcoming.
Yeah, and I've done gone through a bunch of websites and checked things out just when we're talking about things like, well, maybe this is something that people are doing, but it's not. Like, you look at the race photographs that you have, and there aren't diversity in a lot of those race photographs. So asking your photographer, hey, make sure you're getting some photos. And that seems like it's forced, right, to do that. But you sometimes need to force it, right? It needs to be a forced thing until it happens organically. So I think it's okay to say to your photographer, hey, make sure you get some photos of a variety of people, right? Different, diverse looking people, different body types, different genders, all those things, and make a point of taking those photos. And then, use them on your website, right? And use them in the advertising for your thing. Like, put a land acknowledgement, right? The lands that you run your race on, put that on your website, right? Thanks to, the locals, like, have that stuff on your website. So when people go on there, they know that you're trying to be inclusive of all that are checking on your site. I think that's a big one for me, because I think, and I made the joke at the table, we were sitting at a table and there was an ad up for a race banner thing, and I was like looking at these pictures, and there wasn't a single person of color or like any diversity on that thing, and it's just like I don't know, it's just a thing.
Yeah, I think just sticking on, like, for me, like, one of the things that's during the race that really stuck out to me in the playbook that I hadn't really thought of until we started having these conversations with Bloom is having, like, protocols in place for when people do feel like unsafe. You know what I mean? Having particular protocols where people can sort of check in with somebody, and having measures that are in there for those instances, right? Because we don't think about that. Like, in a lot of cases, and I say this as, just like a straight male, you know what I mean, mixed race who, passes as white. There's sort of this sort of thing where it's like, well, these spaces, they're all friendly. It's all, it's all community, right? But you don't think that somebody may be feeling, you know what I mean? There may be instances, there may be microaggressions, there may be something where somebody feels unsafe. And do you have the protocol in place where they can sort of check in and they can, you know what I mean? They can do something and making sure that they feel supported, right? So those are one. It's like, that's why it was so great working with Bloom on some of this stuff, because I felt like there was going to be blind spots inherently, you know what I mean? We're in this initiative, the founders of this, all of us are all males. So, like, you know what I mean? There was certainly going to be some blind spots for us. And so having that extra layer, having somebody that can be, be mindful of all the other aspects certainly helped. And that, for me personally, I found that to be a very, like, sort of eye-opening thing, you know what I mean? And something, again, that costs nothing to implement, costs you no money to implement, but could come up in a situation and could make somebody, you know what I mean, somebody feel much more welcome and much more, not safe, but just much more clear, secure. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I love it. Clearly. I also know that this work, I mean, we hear the word compassion fatigue. Right? And this is leaning into the work, leaning into the feelings, leaning into the hard stuff. There's that quote, you stare at the abyss and the abyss stares back at you. And when you have, y'all are doing the good work, but in doing so, I'm sure you're looking at the gaps, you're looking at what can be oftentimes some very hurtful situations. Mm-hmm. Running oftentimes is that mental reprieve for us, but now it's all meshed. I guess I'm asking, how are y'all feeling about that? Having done this work, like done really important, soulful work over the past 3 years in a space that oftentimes is your mental reprieve.
Yeah. I think Court once said we have a podcast that it's really just 4 idiots talking about stupid stuff in running.
Which I love, by
yeah,
the way.
which like it's but that's like our break from the heavy stuff, right? A lot of what we do is the heavy lifting, and then we get on the pod and just laugh and joke and talk about some other stuff. I think that's a good like break from it. It's still, we talk about some serious things, but you've got to be able to laugh about some things as well to kind of find that balance. And it certainly has affected my running. I know that my running is often affected by my mental state, and if my mental state is full of things that I don't necessarily want to think about all the time, then I don't necessarily run. So it helps to have a group to run with or people to talk to about all that stuff. But yeah, it can be a lot to deal with at times. But it's what we chose to do. Like it doesn't have to be. Like I could say like, sorry guys, I'm out and I don't want to do Crossing Lines anymore, because it's affecting other things. But this is the work that needs to be done, and I think we've taken on ourselves to try to do that work. It's what we've kind of signed up for. So here we are continuing to do it.
Yeah. And as heavy as it is, like for me, it's been sort of a net benefit where it's like, it's helped me be way more mindful when I'm in these spaces about making sure that people do feel included, and sort of being mindful of situations, like clocking situations and stuff like that. So I think it's definitely opened up my eyes to things, because again, I just think of, you sign up for a race, you go to a start line, everything's good, you're all good, boom, boom, but it's not for some folks. So that's what, it's definitely made me more mindful of those things. So and it is heavy work. Some days it does feel pretty heavy. But again, like Matt said, I think that whole part of it was like, there has to be situations where there's also levity as well, right? Or there's you know what I mean? Or else it becomes a bit too much, right? But it is important work, and there's still a lot of work to do. And so I just hope that we can be sort of like an impetus to this, like just sort of, something that causes some change, right? So,
well, we see some wins, right? I think, which help. Like we met a guy at Woodstock that saw the shirt, and he was a person of color, came over and talked to us, and like I gave him the shirt that I was wearing because he was, like such a fan, and he had traveled around and done a bunch of ultras. Like he just finished Western States, right? And like seeing like that happen, like there's representation at that level is like super cool. And like that's a great story to kind of come from that, right? And I know Western States has their initiatives to get diversity at their start lines, and they do try to do what they can. But to know someone or know of someone that kind of has been there and done it and is about our initiative is like that's a win. Yeah.
So earlier this month, there was a constable in training who died in a car accident. He was a runner with Running Waters out in Durham area where we're at. And I went to the memorial run, and his girlfriend said that he wanted to live a life of service and that he believed heroes make heroes. I can't not think about that when you're talking about the work that y'all are doing, where it's not this is hero work. This is the stuff that we want to lose sleep over, right? It's the stuff that like y'all are doing soul work, and you are doing the good work, and you're talking about you are bringing people now into the fold, right? It's, yes, y'all can do the work, but it's also about the heroes making heroes. And so I love the fact that we have more diversity at the start line. I, like you, want to work towards making it happen. Y'all have a pretty amazing rest of the year going on, so why don't you riff on like what does Crossing Lines remaining of 2026 look like?
Yeah. Well, this is your baby now. Yeah. It's no longer in my backyard. So yeah,
it's not Matt's backyard anymore.
It is.
It always only.
It is always.
Backyard.
Yeah. I mean, ever since even before Crossing Lines, when we started training and getting into the idea of running 100 miles, one of the big training runs that we had in the summertime was going out to Matt's backyard and doing a backyard ultra, right? It was just not in the traditional sense, but it was just like basically a 6K loop and doing it 10 hours every hour on the hour to get us that 60K, but also getting us that feeling of like that rest time in between, tired legs, starting back up, all that sort of stuff. And I've always said that for me, that's always been like the best workout, because it really is the closest you can get to the simulation of what it's going to feel like when you're in, the pain cave, or when you're in that, when you're out there running an ultra. So that's been carried on. I mean, we carried that on. That we started, I think the first time we ran that was in 2021, 2022.
Right.
And so we've done it consistently every year since. But last year we made the move to High Park. So just to allow, in the spirit of like allowing more access, getting more people out. And it was phenomenal. Like the reception to the first year, we weren't sure who was even going to show up. We had people who we didn't know who had followed us on social media, who showed up and came in and ran some loops. So this year we're going to carry that momentum forward, and we're going back to High Park, and we're going to be running the Matt's backyard
in the High Park edition.
Beautiful backyard, by the way. I don't know how you pulled that
If
one off.
only, right? If I had High Park as my backyard. Yeah, it's a good time. I thought about this recently about how like the backyard is like almost like the perfect community builder. Like you can get in for 6K, which is like very accessible distance, so you can keep going and running more loops. And obviously in like the authentic race version, it's not as accessible because you need to, once you drop out, you're done. But not for us. You want to run 2 loops in the morning and come back in the afternoon and run another 2 loops? Sure, just come through, hang out. You don't want to run any loops, hang out at the base and say hi to runners as they come through, get some water, and like it's a good vibe, good fun time. And if you're out to train and you want to get some long runs in or long distance in, you've got people with you.
Yeah.
So it's a good time.
And we had the whole aid station set up, so it's got everything that you would need, that you would see in a regular aid station. So you start to get that repetition in. Start straining your stomach and everything like that as well.
Yeah.
So it's a good time.
Yeah. So we've got Backyard Ultra coming up in at the end of the summer here, and then we head to middle of August. Yeah. Then we head to UTMB, Whistler.
Then we're off the next weekend, the following weekend. So that Backyard Ultra is August 15th. Then the following weekend, we're going out to Whistler. We got a couple people running, and then we got a group that's also volunteering. So we got a mix of the old Crossing Lines package going on there.
Right.
It's got some folks coming in from New Orleans, some people coming in from Seattle, some from the region, some from the BC region. So it's a good mix of people from all over. And just going to be out there and try to survive Whistler.
That climbing.
I think we'll close out the season October 4th. We're going to be doing the hustle. And so we're looking forward to having a really solid crew out there, whether it's the 50K, 25K, or 12.5K. We're going to be set up at the start-finish line, so we won't be hiding off in the woods at an aid station. We'll be supporting the crew right from the base camp. And so, very soon we're going to be communicating with the runners on how to get signed up for that and how to get set up with us out there at the hustle.
Well, and that's Pinehurst Lake Conservation Area, gorgeous spot. Used to be the Run for the Toad location. Now the folks who put on Sulphur Springs, Straw Dog Racing, have now brought it back, and I love that location. I love the community. I mean, we put on a small race there as Athletics Ontario once upon a time, and it's gorgeous trails. It's going to be an amazing time of year. I love the fact that y'all are out there, and thank you for being heroes. I mean, crossing lines like this is.
I appreciate you saying that, but there's also, I would say, we're also inspired by other people doing it in the space, and there's work being done by so many in this area, and so I'm constantly inspired by the other folks that are doing it, and that's what continues to make me want to keep doing this as well. So it's. Again, reciprocal. It works all the way around. So thank you for giving us the platform as well. So appreciate
I was going to add to that. I was going to say it takes a village, right? It takes you helping amplify our message, and Danny lending us the space, and our volunteers that show up at aid stations.
The space that we're in right now.
Yeah, you know what? Riff on that a bit, because we've had. I mean, obviously our backdrop is is bibs that, I mean, James, you've got one up there. Court, Matt, are you?
No,
you
I don't run races anymore. No, I don't. My bibs are all covered at home. I don't know. I didn't bring anything down for the wall.
So yeah, Danny, thank you for the space. We appreciate it. It's, I mean, indoor treadmill gym. Like Matt, you introduced me to this.
Well, I'm not as familiar with the space as maybe James or Court because they live down here. But Danny's a good friend, and he is about.
We were talking a
excelling
little bit
running.
about like the accessibility of running races outside of Ontario because we don't really have the hills around here. Well, this space is actually pretty amazing if you do want to train for anything bigger outside of, like, you know, we've got these treadmills behind us, the Wahoos, and you can load in any race from around the world and actually run that race virtually. And so, you know, we're training right now for Mont Blanc, and so you can go, you want to sit and do 1,000 meters at 15%?
No, I do not want to sit and do 1,000 meters. But if you wanted to.
But, it's a space designed for runners, and so whether that's like strength or plyo or treadmills or whatever, it's pretty sweet. And so, you know, that it goes beyond us four. It's a flywheel effect of, as you said, of all those other people that are helping build the community, like yourself, amplifying the message too. And so, yeah, it's way beyond the three of us and Medi. It's everybody else who's helping amplify.
Yeah, it makes it easier for sure, right? Many hands like work.
Well, thank you to y'all. Thank you, Danny. Thank you, Hidden. Thank you, Andrew, behind the camera. Yeah. This is John Shep from I Run Magazine. I always love these guys.
Peace out, trailheads.
Gotta close with that.
Yeah.